Hello, my dear students in 4th primary. How are you? Hope you are doing well. Our friend علي قرر إن هو هيساعد مامته عشان يعمل كيك عشان يحتفلوا بالسيستر بتاعت علي عشان نجحت في المدرسة بتاعتها. He searched قعد يدور على النت على الانجريدينتس بتاعت الكيك. بعدين لقى إن هو محتاج يستخدم 1/4 أو quarter spoon وكمان محتاج 1/8 cup. بس الميجرمنت تولز اللي عند علي في الكيتشن كانت half cup و half spoon. طيب تعالوا نشوف دلوقتي هنساعد علي ازاي through lesson 10 of unit 9 which is entitled same fraction different day. In this lesson هنتعلم النهارده more about how to use models، ازاي نستخدم المودلز عشان نعمل equivalent fractions، وكمان I will explain what makes two fractions equivalent. And now in the previous lessons في الدروس اللي فاتت we learned that الفراكشن can be part of a whole thing. زي ايه؟ زي quarter of loaf of bread وكمان half an apple. وكمان عرفنا how to make equivalent fractions، ازاي بنعمل equivalent fractions and we know that they are fractions. عرفنا ان equivalent fractions that have different numerators and denominator but they have the same value. And all of this information كل المعلومات دي هنراجع عليها تاني مع بعض in access in your school book page 34. تعالوا كده نشوفها مع بعض. Okay, and here in the access part as you see here. Okay. Now, here in the equal sets activity, in this activity we know that إن أماني معاها 2 buttons. One of them is red as you see here. Here are the 2 buttons and one of them is red. طيب لو أماني معاها 6 buttons and she wanted to have the same fraction of the red set يبقى how many red buttons would that be؟ طيب now we want to color the buttons and then write the equivalent fraction. And now I'll give you time to think of the solution and then we'll be back. Now let's review your answers and thoughts. أنا متأكدة إن أنتوا كلكم لاحظتوا إن fractions can be a part of a set. In this problem أماني عندها set of 2 buttons، يعني كل البوتنز اللي موجودين 2. One of them is red والتاني أو البوتن التاني is blue. تعالوا بقى نفكر مع بعض about الفراكشن that represents the red buttons. طيب أول حاجة أنا هبص على ال total number of buttons. ال total number of buttons is what؟ 2 buttons يبقى هكتب في denominator is 2 right؟ Okay. طيب what about the denominator؟ Yes أنا عندي 1 red button بس يبقى هكتب 1 in the numerator right؟ Okay يبقى الفراكشن بتاع red button is half or 1/2 وده الفراكشن اللي represents the first part. Okay half or 1/2. طيب we know now الفراكشن بتاع الفيرست part this one. تعالوا بقى نشوف السكند part. مطلوب مننا ان احنا to color the number of buttons from the 6 buttons we have. These are the 6 buttons. طيب we will color them in red. How many buttons are going to color in red؟ المفروض ان انا اعمل ألون how many red buttons؟ Yes, exactly. I will color only 3 buttons. طب ليه هلون 3 buttons only? Why should I color 3 buttons only? Because this is the 3 is half the 6, right? طيب يبقى دلوقتي عندي denominator is what? Denominator is the total number of buttons, right? يبقى here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. يبقى denominator بتاعي 6, right? What about the numerator? النومينيتور بتاعي اللي هو the colored parts. How many colored parts? I have 3 colored parts, so I will write 3 in the numerator. يبقى الفراكشن أو النيو فراكشن بتاعتي is 3/6. And this is equivalent fraction to half. It represents the first set. يبقى half is equal to 3/6. And now we understand كلنا فهمنا إن the two fractions represent the same quantity of set, which is half. Now we can write what? We can write in half or 1 over 2 equals to 3 over 6. الاتنين represent half, right? So we used the button model. دلوقتي احنا استخدمنا الموديل عشان to find the fraction equivalent to half, which is 3 over 6 as we said. Now let's see another way. تعالوا بقى نشوف طريقة مختلفة to help us identify equivalent fractions. And this is through build on page 35. تعالوا كده نشوفها مع بعض. In the book, we will find a model we have learned before in our study of fractions last year. Can you remember it? It is called fraction wall. تعالوا كده نفتكر مع بعض ايه هو الفراكشن وول وازاي كنا بنستخدمه وبنعمل بيه ايه. And now we will notice هنلاحظ كلنا ان الفيرست row زي ما احنا شايفين كده فيها one hole, right? I begin with one hole. وبعد كده next one we will see that it is divided into two parts. Each part represent half, يعني half و half. The third row divided into three parts. Each part represent 1 over 3 and so on لغاية لما نوصل to the last row هنلاقيه divided أو متقسم ل 12 parts. طب لما يكون متقسم ل 12 part يبقى each one represent 1 over 12. And now we understand from this that one whole equals to what? Equal to 2 over 2 أو 3 over 3, right? And half equivalent to 2 over 4. Half is equivalent to 2 over 4. And through the explanation, من خلال الاكسبلانيشن اللي أنا بقوله لكم ده هنتعلم أكتر about the fraction wall وهنشوف إزاي هنستخدمه مع بعض. And now let's solve problem number 1. Here in problem number 1, he wants you to look at the fraction wall and note. نبص كده كويس قوي على fraction wall. Do you see any equivalent fractions؟ في حد شايف equivalent fractions في الفراكشن وول؟ طب أنا عايزاكم كل واحد يكتب two fractions that are equivalent to 1 over 4. تعالوا نشوف كده at the end of the bar عشان ألاقي equivalent fraction ل 1 over 4 هبص at the end of the bar الفراكشن بتاع 1 over 4 and this is the end of the fraction 1 over 4. And then I will go down the wall to find equivalent fraction. طيب equivalent fraction ده لازم يبقى عنده the same value. Okay? So I will identify it هحدده when I reach line opposite to this line. Okay? أول ما أقابل line opposite to this line يبقى هو ده equivalent fraction بتاعي. تعالوا كده نشوف مع بعض. When I go down I will find what? Yes, I will find, look here, this line is opposite to the same line. So, what is the equivalent fraction to 1 over 4? Yes, I will see that 1 over 4 is equivalent fraction to what? 2 over 8, right? طيب تعالوا نشوف in order to find another equivalent fraction لو عايزة أطلع equivalent fraction تاني هعمل إيه؟ I will continue going down لغاية لما ألاقي another line opposite to this line. Let's see. يبقى I will continue going down. So I will reach what? Look. Yes, I will reach 3 over 12. يبقى 3 over 12 is also equivalent fraction to 1 over 4. Right? Okay. يبقى دلوقتي احنا قدرنا نحدد 2 equivalent fractions for the quarter اللي هم ايه؟ 2 over 8 وكمان 3 over 12. In the same way بنفس الطريقة هنحل مع بعض problem number 2. Okay, the problem number 2 مطلوب مني ايه؟ مطلوب مني ان انا اكتب 2 fractions equivalent to 2 over 3 بنفس الطريقة بالظبط. But now I'll give you time to think and use the fraction wall to find the 2 equivalent fractions. And now after we are back, let's review the answer all together. as we have seen in the previous problem. زي ما عملنا بالظبط في البروبلم اللي فاتت. We looked at the end of the bar of the fraction, right? But let me rub this and we will start to solve problem number 2 all together. Okay? So now I will go to the end of the bar بتاع 1/3 أو 2/3. Here 1/3 then 2/3, so I will start with this line. طيب أنا هفضل I will go down till I find the equivalent fraction which has the same value لغاية لما أقابل line opposite to this line. Okay? So let's see. Go down so I meet this line which is had the same value. طيب عشان أعرف ال equivalent fraction I must count these parts. Let's count it all together. Here's 1/6, 2/6, 3/6 and 4/6. ده معناه إن 2/3 equivalent fraction to 4/6. Right? طيب حد يقدر يقول لي another equivalent fraction؟ تعالوا كده نشوف مع بعض. Let's see all together. We will go down again until I meet another line opposite to this line. Right? طيب تعالوا كده نشوف. If I go down again, I will find that I reach here this line opposite لللاين اللي أنا ابتديت بيه. طب عشان أعرف الفراكشن بتاعتي لازم أعد البارتس بتوعي. Let's count 1 2 3 4 5 6. So the equivalent fraction is 6/9. Right? Okay. طيب يبقى here 2/3 is the same as 4/6 is the same as 6/9. So the second fraction we are going to write is 6/9 as you see. يبقى دلوقتي احنا عندنا two equivalent fractions to 2/3 which is 4/6 and 6/9. طيب ممكن حد يقول لي miss if we go down again to the fractions that have a denominator of 12. لو فضلنا ماشيين لغاية لما الاقي الفراكشن اللي عنده denominator of 12 I will count أو I will see equivalent fraction. طب تعالوا نعد كده البارتس. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. يبقى again 8/12 is another equivalent fraction to this one. So we have now seen all the possibilities, كل الاحتمالات for the equivalent fractions or the fractions that are equal to the fraction which is 2/3 باستخدام fraction wall. And now come and let's play together a game which will help us هتساعدنا كويس قوي نفهم أكتر عن ال equivalent fractions using the domino. Are you ready? يلا let's start. First I will draw one of the cards that represent the pieces of the domino. Okay, so this is the first one. طيب after we see the domino مطلوب مني دلوقتي ان انا اكتب ال number of points that represent this domino. Okay? طيب so I will write here the fraction and the model of it. طيب الدومينو بتاعتي طلعت ايه؟ الفراكشن بتاعها ايه؟ 1/3. تعالوا نكتب هنا الفراكشن بتاعي 1/3. and now تعالوا بقى نرسم الموديل بتاع 1/3. Okay? So I will draw rectangle like this. 1/3 يعني 3 equal parts and only one shaded. يبقى one shaded part out of 3. Right? طيب in the second column I will write what? Yes, second column بقى عايزة أكتب equivalent fraction وكمان هرسم الموديل بتاعه. So what should I do? I will draw the model, the same model. نفس الموديل بالظبط هعمله اللي هو متقسم 3 parts and one shaded part. Right? But this time I will divide it like you see here. Okay? أنا كل ده بعمله ليه؟ عشان to find equivalent fraction to 1/3. Then I want to write now the fraction. What is the fraction? Yes, as you see here, I have all the parts 6. يبقى denominator 6 and 2 shaded parts يبقى numerator 2. طيب ده معناه إيه؟ ده معناه إن 1/3 is equivalent fraction ل 2/6. طيب let's see in the fourth column. I will divide the parts of the model representing 1/3 المرة دي ل 3 equal parts. طيب تعالوا نشوف ازاي هرسم the same model divided into 3 parts. Here I will shade the first one, but this time I will divide it into 3 equal parts. And I want to see the equivalent fraction to this one. طيب all the parts I have 9, so the denominator is 9. And I have 3 shaded parts, so the numerator is 3. ده معناه إن also 3/9 equivalent fraction to 1/3. In the last column we will show the third fraction اللي هي equivalent برضو ل 2 over 3. So I will draw the same model, divided it into 3 parts, shade the first part, but this time I will divide it like this into 4 parts. Okay, so how many parts do I have? Yes, 12, يبقى denominator 12 and 4 shaded parts, so I have denominator 4. And now we are able, دلوقتي قدرنا نعمل 3 equivalent fractions to 1 over 3 اللي هما 2 over 6 and 3 over 9 and 4 over 12. Now let's repeat the game again and draw a domino card like you see here. The second domino card represents this fraction which is 3 over 4, right? The same way I will write here 3 over 4. And let's draw the model. To draw the model, I will make rectangle, but this time I will divide it into 4 equal parts. تعالوا كده يبقى 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I will shade the 3 parts out of 4 like you see here. Okay? طيب, let's move to the second one. The second one I will draw the same rectangle. هو أنا عايزة أعمل إيه؟ عايزة to find equivalent fraction to this one. يبقى I will divide the 4 parts and I will shade the same 3 parts, but this time I will divide it into 2 equal parts. So all the parts I have is 8 and the shaded parts are 6 shaded parts. يبقى the equivalent fraction of the first equivalent fraction is 6 over 8. Let's move to the fourth column. I will draw the same model. I'll divide it into 4 equal parts and I will shade the first 3 parts, right? But this time I will divide it like this into 3 parts. So all the parts I have is what? Are 12 parts, and the shaded parts are what? 9. So I will write 9 here in the denominator. يبقى ده the second equivalent fraction which is 9 over 12. تعالوا نشوف equivalent fraction تاني and let's draw the same model like you see here. Divide it into 4 parts, shade the first 3 parts, and then this time I will divide it into 4 equal parts like you see here. So all the parts are what? 16, and I have 12 shaded parts. And now we are able to compose 3 fractions equivalent to 3 over 4, which are 6 over 8, 9 over 12, and 12 over 16. In the same way, we can play this game in your class with your friends and with the help of your teacher and make many equivalent fractions. وكمان you can share these models in مدرستنا Facebook page. Just put them in the comments. حطوها في comments of this lesson. After we have learned about equivalent fraction, we want to do some more thinking. تعالوا كده نفكر أكتر مع بعض. هي إيه situations اللي في الريل لايف بتاعتنا اللي إحنا بنحتاج نستخدم فيها equivalent fractions؟ فاكرين الإكزامبل اللي أنا بدأت بيه الليسن بتاعي؟ فاكرينه؟ where one of our friends لما قلت لكم one of our friends decided إن هو يعمل cake with his mom and but the tools لكن ال tools of measuring ingredients are different من الريسيب اللي كانت محتاجاها. We will have the same challenge in Connect part on page 36 in your school book. Here, let's see. طيب, here we want to help Summer. عايزين نساعد Summer عشان to rewrite the recipe equivalent fractions. I'll give you now some time to read this activity and then we'll be back to solve it all together. Now Summer has a recipe for healthy snack bars. الريسيب دي خدتها من صاحبتها. الريسيب كان بتقول ايه؟ uses measuring cups and teaspoons. Her friend قالت لها ان هي هتحتاج quarter cup وكمان هتحتاج quarter teaspoon. So Summer has to rewrite recipe using equivalent fraction. طيب يبقى احنا كده محتاجين to use the hint given in the problem عشان تساعدنا. اللي هي كانت بتقولي ايه؟ بتقولي سمر هتستخدم quarter cup وهتستخدم كمان quarter spoon. يبقى now we should think about an equivalent fraction. لازم نفكر equivalent fraction for half وأنا بستخدم أو using fourth. Now we can see the ingredients. كلنا شايفين ingredients of the recipe. We should rewrite the recipe under it by calculating the equivalent fraction. طيب ال first ingredient is half cup rolled oats like you see here. طيب احنا اتفقنا ان سمر هتستخدم quarter cup. We want to know the equivalent fraction to the half in fourth. تعالوا نشوف كده ال fraction wall. Let's see. طيب أنا عايزة أشوف fraction equivalent to half. Look, يبقى here is half. I will go down. So I will find the equivalent fraction to half is 2 over 4. هكذا نكتبها مع بعض. يبقى here she wanted 2 over 4 cup rolled oats. The second ingredient is 2 cups crispy rice cereal like you see here. طيب 2 this is a whole number. أنا عايزة أحول ال whole number ده لفراكشن. تعالوا كده نفكر مع بعض. How many fourths do I have in one whole? ال one whole فيه كام 4؟ Yes, 4 fourths. طيب what about 2 wholes؟ يبقى أكيد ال 2 wholes فيه 8 fourths, right؟ يبقى now سمر محتاجة 8 fourth cup crispy rice cereal. تعالوا نشوف the other ingredient. Here she want quarter cup of honey. طيب دي أنا مش هغير فيها حاجة. الكوارتر نفس السكيل اللي سمر أصلا بتستخدمه. So she need quarter cup of honey. And now the next one, she needs here to use 1.5 cups peanut butter. طيب دلوقتي أنا محتاجة أحول ال 1.5 الميكست نمبر ده لفراكشن عشان ألاقي equivalent fraction to it in fourths. طيب يبقى أول حاجة هعملها إيه؟ Yes, ال 1 whole 1.5 يعني 1 whole وhalf. هو ال 1 whole فيه كام fourth؟ Yes, ال 1 whole عبارة عن 4 fourths. طب والhalf فيه كام؟ إحنا خلاص عرفنا الhalf equal 2 over 4. يبقى I have how many fourths؟ عندي 6 fourths. So she will need 6/4 cup peanut butter. Right? Okay, تعالوا نشوف ال ingredient. The next ingredient. She want to use half teaspoon of vanilla. خلاص احنا عرفنا ان ال half equal to 2 over 4. And the last one she need to use 1 cup chocolate chips. طيب احنا خلاص عرفنا اكيد ان ال 1 whole في كام fourth؟ Of course في 4 fourths. So she needs 4/4 cup chocolate chips. Now we have rewrite the recipe so that Summer can make it correctly. بنفس الطريقة ممكن نساعد our friend to make the cake on the occasion of his sister's success. Now as we know how to find the equivalent fractions واحنا بنستخدم الفراكشن wall وكمان استخدمنا المودلز through the domino game, we can move now to the practice part and check your understanding in the digital copy of your math textbook on the Egyptian Knowledge Bank. To practice more and more and increase our knowledge through the code that appears on the screen, we can also find it at the beginning of the lesson. In the practice part, we will find that problem 1 and 2 are very easy to solve it. مطلوب مننا to write the fractions that represent each model. تعالوا دلوقتي نحل مع بعض problem number 3 and 4. Okay, now let's solve 3 and 4 all together. Here we ask to find one or more equivalent fraction to the fraction that is in the problem. This will be using the fraction wall. In problem number 3, مطلوب مننا to write one or more fraction أو equivalent fraction to half. So, let's see here and make it all together. So, I will stop at the end of the bar زي ما اتفقنا، يعني هروح كده عند الhalf and I will stop here. And go down until I meet a bar with the same end. اللي هو ايه؟ تعالوا كده نشوف مع بعض. I will meet this line اللي هو عنده نفس ال value which is 2 over 4. Right? يبقى دلوقتي half equals 2 over 4. طيب and then we will go down again until I reach the end of the bar. Look here. I will go down here لغاية لما أوصل to the opposite line which represent what? Yes, 3 over 6. ده معناه إن كمان 3 over 6 is equivalent fraction. طيب we can find على فكرة more and more fractions in the same way. Like what? تعالوا كده let's go down again. Look, this fraction is 4 parts, يعني 4/8 are also equivalent fraction, right? And if I go down again, I will reach this line اللي هو 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. يبقى 5/10 also is equivalent fraction. In problem number 4, مطلوب مننا to find one or more fraction equal to 3/4. Okay, so let's first rub this to see the next problem. Okay, now here you want equivalent fraction to 3/4. نفس الطريقة بالظبط. I will stop at the end of the bar representing 3/4. So I will stop here because this is 3/4. And I will go down. طيب if you go up you will find any equivalent fraction? No. لو طلعنا فوق مش هنلاقي أي equivalent fraction. But if we go down هنلاقي equivalent fractions. So let's go down until I find that denominator أو the opposite line. So I find this, the fraction which have denominator 8. So let's count the parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3/4 equals to 6/8, right? Type, if we go down again, what should I meet? Yes, which line should I meet? Let's see. I will go down until I meet the fraction which denominator is 12. طب عشان أعرف الفراكشن لازم أعد البارتس اللي عندي. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Here I have another equivalent fraction which is 9/12. And now we are able to find two fractions. احنا لقينا two equivalent fractions ل 3/4 which are 6/8 and 9/12. We can find even more whenever we increase the value of the denominator. And this was the end of our lesson, and we have learned today. تعلمنا النهارده مع بعض how to use ازاي بستخدم المودلز and the fraction wall to make equivalent fractions. وكمان we have also learned to explain what makes the two fractions equivalent. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson today with me so much. Thank you for your watching and see you next lesson.